Have you ever had a brilliant idea, only to watch someone else make it successful years later? Have you ever felt like you were ahead of your time, but the world just wasn't ready? This is the tragedy of being too early, a phenomenon shaped by what we call the timeline effect. Throughout history, visionaries have struggled with being ahead of the curve. The right idea at the wrong time can feel like failure. But sometimes, it's just a matter of waiting for the world to catch up. If you've ever felt like you were ahead of your time, don't lose hope. Some ideas just need the right moment to thrive. The world may not have been ready then, but maybe it's ready now. The timeline effect refers to the invisible force of timing that determines whether an idea, an invention, or a movement succeeds or fails. History is filled with geniuses, pioneers, and visionaries who saw the future before the world did. But instead of being celebrated, they were often ignored, dismissed, or even ridiculed. Sometimes, the world simply isn't ready. The timeline effect repeats again and again. What seems impossible today can be inevitable tomorrow. Being ahead of your time can feel lonely, but history shows that those who persist can change the world. If you have a vision, trust that timing will catch up to you. Let's take a look at some examples of the timeline effect in action. These are people who had the right ideas, but at the wrong time. Nikola Tesla envisioned wireless electricity and the internet in the early 1900s. But in an era dominated by wired technology, his ideas were dismissed. Today, wireless energy transfer is becoming a reality, over a century after Tesla dreamed of it. Apple's Newton, released in 1993, was a revolutionary idea, a handheld personal assistant with handwriting recognition. Sound familiar? It was essentially a prototype of the modern smartphone. But the technology wasn't advanced enough, and consumers weren't ready. It flopped. A decade later, the iPhone changed the world using the same fundamental ideas. Before Netflix and YouTube, companies like Real Networks attempted video streaming in the late 90s. But internet speeds were too slow, and most people still relied on dial-up connections. The idea was brilliant, but the infrastructure wasn't there. Fast forward to the 2000s, and suddenly, streaming became the dominant form of entertainment. Timing can make or break an idea. The visionaries of the past paved the way for the innovations of today. You'd think being first to an idea would be an advantage. But in reality, being too early can be just as bad, if not worse, than being late. Here's why. If the world isn't ready for your idea, it won't matter how brilliant it is. Some ideas require supporting technology or infrastructure that doesn't exist yet. People resist change, especially when a new concept feels too different. Pioneers often burn through funding before the market catches up, while later entrants capitalize on their mistakes. Success isn't just about having a great idea, it's about launching it at the right time. So how can you avoid the fate of being too early? Here are a few key strategies. Instead of launching too soon, analyze market trends. Is the world ready for your idea? If not, what needs to change? Sometimes, starting small is better than launching too big. Early electric car companies failed, but Tesla started with luxury sports cars before scaling up. If your idea is ahead of its time, consider licensing it to a larger company that can sustain it until the market catches up. If your original idea is too early, can you pivot? Many successful companies started with a different idea before finding the right timing. By understanding timing, entry points, partnerships, and adaptation, you can turn an early idea into the next big success. The timeline effect teaches us that success isn't just about having great ideas. It's about having them at the right time. The world doesn't always reward pioneers. But it does reward those who time their moves wisely. The key to success isn't just innovation, it's timing. Will you be ready when your moment arrives? So, do you think you've ever been too early with an idea? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Timing is everything. Make sure you're ready when your moment arrives.